Okay, it's 11 o'clock. We're going to get started here. I am Wesley Booth. Thanks for attending today, everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. We had a little technical issues to get started here. We're going to take some questions today, so make sure you find that question box in your webinar panel, and we will take as many questions as we can. We're not going to be able to answer all the questions during the webinar today, but we will respond to all the questions after the webinar, the ones we don't ask verbally. I'm Wesley Booth. I work here in Tucson, Arizona as a customer care agent. I work on the national accounts team. We take care of some of the largest accounting firms with QuickBooks Online. And my passion is for training, making sure that people really have the tools they need to do their job, and that's one of the reasons why I've been asked to take care of this project here with this webinar. We're going to jump right into the agenda. It's going to have some announcements. We have some quick updates in QBO that I'll handle. We have a new feature in time tracking on the mobile. People are on the go a lot. So practice management, we have a couple of big rocks here we want to share out today. We have a new statement with an enhanced user interface and invoice tracker updates. So we got a lot of good news, and it's going to be a lot of good information. Hopefully it'll be helpful in your productivity moving forward. Always want to plug Accountant University. It's where you get your certification and additional training. We have training for your clients as well, and get to that at the end if we have a little bit of time. We have Scaling New Heights coming up here just in about a week or so. So hopefully you have a chance to get to that, where it's basically focused on growing your practice. Also, our big signature event coming up in November, QuickBooks Connect. So please, they're going to actually start promoting that coming up here any day. So be sure to plug into that if you have a chance out there in San Jose, California. So we're going to jump right into content now. I got a couple of updates. What is that team member notification? Right now in QuickBooks Online accountant version, let me just show you real quick. If you go ahead and change the status of a team member, let's say from active to inactive, or if you change their access to one of these clients, we have not been given a notification for every time that happens. We are going to start doing that, so that's more of a heads up, so you know that every time there's any effect. So if you're adding a team member to a company, the team member will be getting these notifications, and that's something we have not done, just so you know. Bill Pay Online, that's something that we talked about last month in the app section. One thing I want to highlight now is a lot of times people had been using our Intuit online payroll to pay their 1099 vendors. With this Bill Pay Online through bill.com, you can pay your vendors through this, let's say direct deposit or an ACH now, so you won't need to use Intuit Online to be able to pay them electronically. So that'll save you some money having to have that payroll for that, if that's what we're using the IOP for. T-sheets, what I want to mention there, we had a really good presentation by Brandy last month. The thing I want to call out now, that integration is now rolled out to all QBO users. So that's the change we wanted to bring up there. QuickBooks navigation update. You've probably noticed that a lot of companies, the new companies, had a different navigation. So if you're all familiar with the home, the customers, the vendors, the employees, the transactions. But what we're going to be rolling out, and the email is going out announcing this, that everybody is going to now have a new navigation, so there will be consistency in this navigation. For instance, on the banking screen, you'll have the bank rules here. On sales, you'll have your invoices, sales, customers, product and services. So we just want to call that out, that the navigation is going to be rolled out to everybody coming up fairly soon. So you should be getting emails on that. So another thing I want to call out here today is QuickBooks Essentials now has time tracking. In the past, you've had to have a QuickBooks Online Plus company to be able to have a time tracking user. So this is just a snapshot of the knowledge base article. And I'll be sending the link out so you guys have this link to be able to have this detail. But basically now what you can do is if you have an Essentials company, I've named the company Essentials, you can add time tracking only users, and then they can go ahead and fill out their timesheets. And I want to highlight something here in the functionality here. So Amy Bookkeeper had a bookkeeping client put 2 hours every day in here. So that's the timesheet they're going to use when they log in to timesheets only. So that most of you are probably familiar with that. But when you go to invoice this bookkeeping customer, you have a choice here. These items may come out all at once, but let me show you how to fix that. So if I go to my time tracking Essentials company, and I go to create an invoice for Bookkeeper 1, see I have all of these billable times, but if you don't like that, you can just go up here, group time by service. I wanted to call that out. That way it's just one item there to add. So that may not be intuitive, so I wanted just to call that out before anybody gets frustrated on that. So we're not going to really take questions on these items right now, but if you do have questions on any things I just ran through really quick, I know that was really fast, go ahead and put those questions into the question box and we will follow up with you afterwards. And so now we're going to jump into our other presenters today. And so our first item we're going to cover today is mobile version of time tracking. So not only have we added time tracking or time tracking users to Essentials, we've also now been able added it to people on the go. So there's so many people living on the go with their mobile phones. And to present that today, we have Yoshi Matsushita, and he works in roles and permissions with QuickBooks, and he really likes solving the customer problems, and that's why he's, with this time tracking, that's been a frustration. He's one of our program managers out of Mountain View and been with Intuit for 3.5 years. So thanks, Yoshi, for presenting today. We look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thanks, Wesley. So yeah, as I jump into the screen share, Wesley touched on it, but let's just talk about some of the benefits of this time tracking only. So it used to only be available to Plus users or Plus customers, but we'll now be extending that to Essentials. And what's great about time tracking only users are that they are non-billable users, meaning that the small business owner can add as many of these for their field reps, sales reps or service agents out in the field, and it won't count against their SKU. Another benefit is that the time tracking portal is sort of separate from the QuickBooks area itself. So if you have users that you don't need to access your books, this might feel more secure for your clients that just have employees that have pure time tracking needs. And like Wesley mentioned, going forward as we roll this out through all regions, you'll not only be able to track time on the web, but you'll be able to do it on the go over your phone. So let me jump into the demo here. So in addition to the mobile changes, you'll see that the look and feel has been enhanced quite a bit to represent the feel of QuickBooks. I think that in the screenshot that Wesley showed, it looked like a much older version of QuickBooks. So now we've updated the time tracking user experience to have the same look and feel for QuickBooks. In terms of features, these users can do the following things. They can enter single time activities. They can also complete a weekly timesheet, and they can view a report of their historical time activities. And then these time entries can flow through to either payroll or, like Wesley showed, become invoiceable to customers. So let me just take a moment, and I'll show on mobile the features that have been optimized for mobile, which is entering time. So if I click here on single time activity, you see the ability to enter a duration or the amount of time you worked on a project or for a customer. And then there's a toggle if you want to change it to start end time. And then within that start end time, you have the ability to add a break as well. So if I were to just enter a sample time here, let's say 2 hours, I can also apply that time to a customer. And one of the additional benefits is that a lot of customers a lot of QuickBooks users like to categorize their customers using some sort of internal IDs and the customer name. And now this list is searchable by both the ID and the name. So if I did AL, I can pick Alex. And then a couple of things below here are dependent on what settings the master admin has set for their company, settings and preferences. So you have the ability to make the time activity billable. So then you would get a billable check on. And then you also have the ability to let the field employee enter the rate. Or you can also rely on adding the service item to also control the rate. And then you can also hide the rate field overall if you don't need your field reps to know what you're invoicing the customer for that time. So in this case, if I were to pick, let's say, installation, you'll see that the rate went to 120. And then in addition, there's if you need to track by job or location, we also have the ability to turn on class and location tracking options as well. So that's the single time activity. And just a quick view of the weekly timesheet. Here, you're basically doing the same thing, but you're doing it across a week. And I'll go into the details of the interaction on this UI because it's a little bit different than how it looks on the web. So basically, you can select the week that you're interested in, and then we have 2 layers of the weekly entry. One is the add work details. So if I click the top half of the white card, it'll take me to a screen that looks similar to the single time activity. Here, I can do all the same things. I can associate time to a project, service item, and I can also tag it with a location or class. Let me just go ahead and do that for a sample. And then when I click done, it brings me back to this screen. And then you see on the bottom, there's a second row where I can scroll side to side for the days of the week. And here I can enter the number of hours that I work for that project. One last option is the ability to delete. So if I drag the row to the left, I'll get this delete icon as well. And then in addition, we have all the, we've retained all the historical functionality, like the ability to add additional lines, clear all lines, and copy from an existing timesheet. So at this point, sorry. The only other functionality I want to go over was the reports, and I think the reports is more optimized to view on a web screen. So just jumping into that real quick. On this screen, basically the user has the ability to set start end date or a duration, and then view time activities that they had entered in the past, and then they can click on individual time activities if they want to edit those. So that concludes my presentation, and I can take any questions if there are any.
Okay, thanks, Yoshi. We just had a couple of questions. Apologize for those that are having some sound issues. So if you're having sound issues you can't hear, I'll have my team chat with you a little bit on that. So okay, so let me just, sorry about this. We got some technical issues. Got some room issues on the webinar today, so apologize for that. So one of the questions we had there, Yoshi, is, okay, so the billable time here, is that on Plus, or what version is this mobile going to plug into?
So right now, what I showed you is available to Plus users. I believe as we roll out to all the regions in this next release, like you indicated, Wesley, what I showed will be available to Essentials users as well. What I need to make real clear is that in QuickBooks, we have the ability for other user types to track time. Those users go into QBO, and under the Global Create or the Plus button, they can enter a time activity, or they can also fill out a timesheet. And then there's certain users that can do that on behalf of other employees as well. Time tracking only is a specific user type, and the changes or the enhancements that I talked about today are available only for the time tracking only user type right now, but it'll be available for both Plus and Essentials.
Okay, could you show them how to get back to the pull that time activity again real quick?
What was the question?
They just want to be able to know where to pull that time activity. Kind of missed that.
Where to pull the time activity. Oh, okay.
So
I wouldn't be able to show that here, but that is what you showed on your screen, where you're in the invoice, and then on the right side of the invoice you see the time activities that this time user has entered to that particular customer. But since the time tracking only users don't have the ability to invoice, their portal wouldn't be able to show that part. You would have to then have the administrator go in and generate the invoice for the time.
okay. Okay, thanks, Yoshi. We'll move on to our next topic. So, but if you have any questions, feel free to keep putting your questions in there. We will have the questions posted on our website when we get the recording posted. So I look forward to that in probably be hopefully this week, maybe not, but probably next week early. So, and we're going to jump into our next topic today. For that, we're going to jump into accountant practice management. We presented this last month for a couple items, and this is a new tool that we're rolling out for your accountants. And we define practice management as the ability to manage the client and the workflow. And we want to support some key capabilities, including collaboration, document management, and be able to do insights into what you're working with, and also to notify your customers. And one of the things that was asked for quite a bit is duplicate projects, and so we're going to show that today. And to present duplicate projects, one of the things, the real quick things that we rolled out is Brad Newell. And Brad is right here in Tucson as well. I like his picture there because that highlights, he likes taking vacations. So, but Brad is part of the practice management team, and I can vouch for his passion for really making sure that you, our accounting partners, really get the support you need to make sure you're productive and efficient. So thanks, Brad, for presenting today.
Hey, thank you for the introduction, Wes. Hello, everybody. Like Wes said, my name is Brad Newell, and I wanted to show you a little bit about some of the new features of the practice management feature that we rolled out last month. We started off in beta throughout April and finally launched it to 5 regions throughout the globe on the beginning of May. And then during the launch and all of the feedback that we have received, it's loud and clear that there's a couple of pieces to this new feature that are really needed to make it more adaptable for more users. One of those features is like a different view, which we introduced right before the global launch, was the list view. One of the other features is recurring project. We haven't gotten to the point recurring yet, but we do have a little teaser. But step one for this, we came up with an option to do duplicate projects. Now, after you go through and set up, so here you can see I have on my wholesale client 1, I've got my monthly reconcile. You can see I've got my first one that's a little overdue, but I still have to get to do. But let's say I want to set this up for a second client of mine. I can just go ahead and click on the project itself, and then you'll see I have tasks for each month to remind me I need to go in and do my reconcile. So to get this set up for my second client, I just have to hit duplicate, and it'll actually grab all of the tasks associated. So I just have to come in, select my second wholesale client, save that, and now I've got additional tasks, one for each client, and this will show up every month. And on top of that, the other thing I wanted to show you, we are taking feedback currently for the recurring. So we put in a little teaser for everybody. It's not there yet, but we're working on it, and we want to capture your feedback. So by all means, feel free to come in here and give us some insight of what this really should look like for you. What would really differentiate this between other software programs that you use? And we'll take all the feedback in consideration as we're building out the next new feature.
I'm here, Lisa.
He's doing the same thing all morning. Hi, how are you?
I did see one question come through asking about the new My Accountant feature. I'll just touch base on that real quick because that has been a popular piece of conversation. When you do a create client request, this is how you initiate a collaboration with your client for the new My Accountant tab in the client's books. That'll conclude the quick demo that I had today. So we'll go ahead and open it up.
Brad, could you go ahead and walk through that duplication process again?
Sure, absolutely. So I've got my 2 clients monthly reconcile set up, and now I want to set up my 3rd wholesale client. So I'll just click on the existing project, and it's important to note that you can only duplicate an existing project and its associated tasks. You can't create, in the process of creating one, duplicate it at that time. You must save it first. So we just have this duplicate button here on all saved existing tasks, and you'll actually see if I start changing something, I can no longer duplicate it anymore. Once I hit the duplicate button, it's going to bring up everything's going to stay exactly the same, but I have the ability to change anything I need. So if I've already done this task, I can go ahead and remove this one for the new client that I'm going to create this for, which will be my wholesale client 3. And say I want to assign this one to Allison instead of myself. Everything else will stay the same. I can go ahead and save it. And now I've got my wholesale client 1, wholesale client 2, and wholesale client 3 all set up to save that much time for the creation of projects and tasks.
Okay. So I got a question for you there, Brad. On when you create these tasks and you initiate a client, I know you didn't really cover that. We covered that actually last time in pretty good detail, but if you could show real quick, since we have a little bit of time, to show them, let's say if you create a client request real quick, because I don't know that everybody who's here this time saw it last month. So want to make sure they understand that little piece there too, even though it's not on our agenda today.
I want to go ahead and let's try this for my wholesale client 4. I want to request them to upload their bank statement. And here I can actually upload a document to my client if I needed to, but I don't have to. I have a notified client. This is what prompts an email to be triggered off to be sent to my client. I'm not required to send the email. I can just publish to their QuickBooks. And then from the client's view, when they're logged in, they can go to the My Accountant tab. And this is where they'll see the request from the accountant. And they can be like, oh, I need to upload a bank statement. And then here, they can go ahead and add the document and upload it. And then if I've uploaded a document to my client, they would see that under the Shared Documents tab. Now, back on the accountant side of the world, if the client uploaded the document, I marked the client request as done, so it's no longer in the Work tab. I can still access it. If I click on the client's name, you'll see that we have the Shared Documents section where I'll see anything that I've uploaded to them or they've uploaded to me.
Okay, thanks, Brad. I had Brad go through that because that was probably the easiest way to handle a lot of the questions we had coming through on that. We did have a detailed presentation last month, so you can always view the recording. So thanks, Brad. So we're going to move on to the next topic today, and actually it's another part of practice management, and that's client tools. Client management is one of the two major jobs that practice management solves for, and practice management is the vision of client management. So what we want to be able to do is have you as accountants have everything at your fingertips right inside this tool, their detail, their interaction history, and so you have a one-stop shop for all the contact you have for that. And presenting this component, the client tools today, we have Corey Ferguson. Welcome, Corey. He's works on the client management team. He's one of the software engineers, and he's just, he's in Mountain View with all the developers and programmers. So thanks for presenting today, Corey, and welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining today. I want to present today a new feature coming out very soon, and it's one piece of the client tools, and that is notes. Before I show that, I'll touch very briefly on the current experience. We have the ability today to make notes on your clients. You go into the client details, and there's a note there. It's kind of clunky. It's a little hard to use. It's a very small text box, and it's one note. So for those of you who were using it, we very frequently saw people leaving like a date and timestamp in it, and then adding some note below that, and so they did like a running history of things. As for the current experience, so I'm on my client's hub right now. I can click into one of my clients, and in the details here, the Notes tab will load up and will show a list of notes for this client. So adding a new note is as easy. A new note is as easy as this. Great. Save a new note. It'll get added to the top of the list. Some other things to call out here is for each note we're showing some authorship type information, so the date it was created, a little avatar with the initials of who created it, and then the timestamp of when they created it. In addition to that, you'll notice like down here, if I edit this note, if you enter a URL here and save the note, it will automatically get converted to a tag, a link here. So when I click it, it would open this up in a new tab. In addition, we can obviously delete notes. And finally, the last thing we can do is we can pin notes. There could be a lot of notes here, and this can be way too much information. For those notes that are very important, we can pin a note. So obviously, this is a new note. That doesn't sound important to me. I'm going to go ahead and unpin this item. Pinned notes will be green on the left here, and in addition, they will show up on the right-hand side here. And you can even access all the actions from this menu as well. Anyone on your team who has access to this client will be able to view the notes. Anyone who has access to manage your clients will be able to add, edit, delete, and pin notes for this client. Yeah, and that's it. I think we can open this up for questions.
Okay, thanks. Thanks there, Corey. Let me just make a note. Okay. So we had a few questions. Can the admin prevent notes from being deleted?
Currently, the only way to do that would be to restrict access to manage your clients. So anyone who has access to manage clients will be able to delete them right now.
So in other words, every one of your team members that has access to client XYZ would be able to add notes, delete notes, and have the full functionality right now?
Correct.
Okay. What is the rollout time frame on this for the notes for everybody?
I am going to non-committally say very soon. Very, very soon.
Okay. Okay. So it's not available today, but we wanted to make sure that this item was out, so you had it. So when it does show up, you had the tidbits on that. So you see here if we got any other questions. Okay. So I think we answered all the questions that we have coming through here. Some of the ones that we made, some of the fine-tuned questions we may get to after the webinar. So please put all your questions in there, because Corey and Brad, the team, they will get all these questions, so they'll have access to all the information, suggestions. And so we're going to jump into our next presentation here. We're going to switch topics into statements. We have a new statement. We've added some features to our statements that's going to be helpful. And to present that today, we have Samantha Lopez. She's a customer experience specialist, and she's one of the people, she's here in Tucson, and the customer experience specialist, they are one of the group of people that read all of your comments. So when you give feedback in product, her team reads every single comment related to the project she's working on. She's been with Intuit 3 years, and she has a passion for making effortless experience, and so that's one of what the customer specialists do. They really want to take your feedback and make these products as seamless and productive as they possibly can for you. So thanks, Samantha, for presenting today.
Exciting.
Okay. Oh, Samantha, sorry, we had a sound problem. If you could just start over, please.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me better?
Hear you good now.
All right, perfect. So pretty exciting stuff, new statements. So we have heard for quite some time that, pain that users have been having with statements and what it's been causing. So today we'll go over some of those enhancements that we've made to provide an easier way to...
Okay.
Your background. I'm sorry about that. An easier way to use statements and also seamless across. So For instance, we've updated technology to make it easier to send and also made it seamless, so changes to the custom form styles will now flow over to the statement, and that way it can have a more professional look, which is pretty cool. So here is the old look when you were creating a statement. It's, as you can see, it had pieces of the old interface that were just long overdue. We needed to update this a long time ago, and we gave it a makeover. It was just very inconsistent with the new QBO and just visually unappealing. And here I will go ahead and walk you through how easy it is to create and send statements. So you can start off by either creating a statement through the plus sign or through the Customers tab. So there are multiple channels. Once you are on the actual statements page, it's very easy on the eyes and simple to use. So you, for instance, statement type, you can change the statement type or the balance status from here. I did want to call out at the bottom, you see the recipients list. There is a tab for missing email address and statements available. You are able to edit the email from this page now. However, the email does not save in the customer profile at this time. So if you see that there's a typo and you need to quickly send the statement right away and there's not an email address or there's a typo, then it makes it a lot easier and you can save some time to get that ball going. And you can choose to either print the statement or you can send the statement. And from here, you're also able to edit the message before sending, which I thought was pretty cool. So you have the right number, 840034. And here you will notice the old statement, the actual printed statement. It just looks very boxy. It looks no pizzazz. It looks like it was created in Excel. So here is the new look of the statement, which the changes that are made here are carried over from the custom form styles. So it flows over to the statements now. As you can see, for instance, logo and color, those are the two major ones that stand out, which is pretty cool. You can, customize that closer to your business. And now we will go into questions.
Okay, I would like to ask one question. When can the customers expect to see this in QBO?
Sure. So they should expect to see this very soon. I do not have an exact date, but I can assure you will be very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Some of you might have already noticed a change, and you might have already seen this functionality. So it might not be new to you, but pretty soon every single QBO customer or user will see this new interface.
Okay, so I want to make a comment on that. What we do in QuickBooks when we roll out some of these features, we don't roll them out to everybody on the same day. So that's why Samantha said that some people are already seeing this and the rest will be seeing it very, very soon. So what we have a rollout plan. So it depends upon what wave in the rollout you are is when you're going to see that. And we're in the process of rolling it out. So that's why we're going to see this very, very soon. So question here about printing the invoice details on the statement. Are we going to have more detail on these statements than we had in the past? Do we have new statements, or are we just adding a couple of tweaks with the layout? Maybe if you could go into a little bit of the layout on the forms a bit.
Sure. So with the changes, most of the options that are available that will carry over from the form are some of the details. So like when you're in custom form styles, much like you were editing your invoice. So I like to use that as an example because most of the updates and changes that you make when you go to custom form style section will carry over to the invoice, and that's how it will feed into the statement now. So yes, there will be more details. And of course, as always, I highly recommend that you leave feedback, because that will only, help us more. We constantly read through those, and that'll help us a lot more, to make this better. It's awesome. It's so much different. The functionality, it's a lot faster to send statements, and I believe it will be a very good thing.
We have a number of other questions specifically in that, and what I'd like to do is, what we'll do is when we send a follow-up email tomorrow, we'll have a knowledge base article that'll explain some of these things, and what we'll also do is we'll follow up with you individually on some of these specific questions. So what we did here is, if I get it right, Samantha, we basically repackaged the statement, added a couple of features with the customization. So would you say the biggest thing we did was make it look professional instead of like an office supply store statement?
Yes, that's exactly it. That's what we were aiming for, and also made it a lot faster in the process of creating statements. So you will notice that as well.
Yes, because we had a lot of questions about little specific functionality, so that's why I wanted to context. The functionality itself hasn't been totally revamped. So, but we'll get to some of those questions and follow up with you. So please go ahead, and if you do have questions, please submit those, because that way if you have items that you think, oh, if we need this on a statement, or I'd like to see this in statements, please go ahead and submit that. Because Samantha's going to see every single question regarding this topic in the webinar, and she also sees your feedback as you go through the product and submit feedback in that. So thanks for presenting today, Samantha. And we're going to jump into our last main topic for today. And we have a feature that we talked about in December, Invoice Tracker. What we've done, though, is we've made it available to everybody as we're rolling out this new wave of QuickBooks updates here. So, and to present today, Invoice Tracker, and Dan, if you could share your screen there, that'd be wonderful. We have Daniel Liu's going to be presenting Invoice Tracker. We did have a presentation in December webinar. Daniel, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Let me see if my screen's on.
Just need to share your screen would be fine.
I am sure. About this, guys.
I'm still waiting for your screen to be shared, Dan.
No, not on the list anymore. Should be sharing now. Do you guys see anything?
Nope.
That's really great. Yeah.
Okay, so Dan, I'll come back to you. Go ahead and work on that. I'm going to cover a couple of topics here while Dan works on that. So Dan, if you could mute that in the meantime while you get that working. So we have an Accountant's Help Hub, and I want to show you something about that. Sometimes I don't usually get a chance to demo this. So what our Accountant's Help Hub is a resource that you can, let me just get my screen sharing started here. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. Okay, so we got QuickBooks Accountant dashboard here. Got my list of, and we got a question mark right up here on the top. And you'll see we have our Accountants Help Hub. And what we've done with the Accountants Help Hub is we've curated a lot of the information you need up front so you don't have to do quite as much searching. We have these tiles. So if you go to any one of these items, they will be focused on the knowledge base articles on that topic. And these are the title topics that are the most frequently asked for information. You can always go there and you'll always see the webinar here. That's the webinar we're on. If you click on that link there, that'll take you to the webinar page so you can see where the registration links for the upcoming one. Obviously this will be updated. And then this is the webinar we had last month, and we break out the sections here so that way you can see each individual segment so you don't have to necessarily watch the whole webinar. And also on the Accountants Help Hub, there's one more thing I want to highlight here is training and tutorials. That's going to take you to the Accountant University where you can watch videos and that sort of thing. But also one thing I wanted to highlight is you have small business courses. These are designed for your customers. So that's something that you might want to be able to take advantage of. So let me check in with Dan to see if you're ready to go. Dan, did you get that figured out, Dan?
No, still working on it.
So, okay, so apologize for that, everybody. Another question we always get is CPE credits. We don't have CPE credits for this webinar yet. We're going to have some conversations. So hopefully we can do that in the future, but right now I can't promise anything. So apologize for the little technical issues. We had some technical glitches today. So, but with that, Daniel, are you ready yet?
Yeah, I should be. I'm going to go off of Corey's screen here.
Okay. So, okay, go for it. Okay.
Cool. All right. Can you guys see Invoice Tracker? Or the invoice
so let me just go ahead and, so Daniel Lew's product manager in Mountain View, California, and he joined Intuit just earlier this year. His passion is about making invoices and other transactions more intuitive, and this invoice tracker I think you'll find very helpful. So thanks for presenting today, Daniel.
Yeah, happy to be here. Sorry we had a little bit of difficulty. So yeah, some of you guys have seen this already. This is something that we've been ramping out very slowly to a couple people since December. In the next couple of weeks, it'll start hitting a broader and broader audience. So kind of like what Wesley said, depending on what wave you're in, you might see this sooner rather than later. But yeah, Brittany gave a really great demo of this in December. And so what we have is still, you can go track and see what the status of all your invoices are, whether they've been paid or overdue. If you click into one of these, you actually be able to see if it's been sent, reviewed, paid, or deposited. And you have a nice, clear kind of action item that you can go take on each individual payment. You can kind of see that this one is 35 days overdue, and it'll tell you can go ahead and resend it. For things that are kind of coming up, it'll remind you when is it due. You can also go look at things that have been partially paid. And so, out of $100 of the invoice, 12 cents of it was paid. And so in the case that where you're invoicing people and people kind of pay on installments, or they pay partly up front and partly later on, you'll be able to now see all of that. What we've been trying to do is really combine the status of your invoice and kind of your payment status all into one spot. And then if it's been paid, you can actually go see a list of all the various transactions that might have happened. And so, we know that a lot of people have kind of these big meaty invoices, and the payment status with it can also be kind of long. And so we want to have, again, a single place where you can go and see how everything is doing. And then you can kind of also see that if it's been deposited, you'll have gone through everything. the entire flow. And even if you void an item, well, it'll show up there. And so we're really trying to bring a lot of clarity to the product. All right. And yeah, I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. So please put your questions in the question box, and I do apologize for the technical issues we've been having today. But also, like I said again, we're going to get a response to all of your questions. What we do is we send out an email 24 hours after the webinar is over with links that are relevant to the content today. But some of the questions here, it's kind of hard to keep up with all of them. So I have one question here I'd like to ask you, Daniel, is the headers. Somebody's asking about the headers. Do they flow down? Because, you know, a lot of times if we scroll through QuickBooks, we lose the headers. Is that something that's going to be sticky on the top, or is that going to kind of disappear off the top of the screen there?
Yeah, these headers aren't going to be sticky. That's definitely a piece of feedback we've gotten before, so we'll be looking into that, but it won't be this release.
So if you go back to that screen and maybe show the payment tracking process real quick,
yeah,
that might be helpful because you covered that real quick, and we have a different audience than we had in December. And for those that are listening, you can watch that December recording, and we'll send the link out after the webinar, so you get that link about 24 hours tomorrow. So if you could just go ahead and share your screen again there, Dan, and kind of drill into that payment flow so they can see how those are, the payments are flowing through on that screen. Okay, well,
yeah.
you can see your screen now. Thanks. So what we're showing here is we're showing that they received a payment on December 7th. So they received 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 payments against that invoice, right?
Yeah. Most of them probably won't be this complicated.
Okay, so hopefully that'll answer that question. And we're going to go ahead and answer some of these specific questions in the follow-up because sometimes some of the questions are just really hard to present in the webinar, but we will get to all your questions. So I do apologize for the technical issues today, and this was probably the worst technical situation we had today, and I do apologize for that. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. So we'll send out an email, and my screen's not sharing here. There it goes. Okay, so looks like go to webinar is having a big delay today. I apologize for that. So I want to remind everybody about the Accountants Help Hub. We do have a YouTube channel, so there'll be a link for that. So all these videos get posted on the YouTube channel as well. We have a lot of other good information, training tutorials on the YouTube channel. And so we'll send that email out, and we will follow up with the questions when the recordings are posted on our our help page here. Let me just jump back in here. And so let me just go over to the Accountants Help Hub and show you on the webinar page. When we post the video, we also post the questions. So we do answer all of the questions. So those questions we didn't get to will be answered here in the FAQ section under the recording. So we will let you know when all that's ready. And that usually takes a couple of days while we curate that and get the videos all segmented and posted on YouTube. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. Apologize for the technical issues. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next month. Take care. Bye-bye.